Head just 25 miles north of Flagstaff on Highway 180. And you approach the trailhead to one of the most unusual cinder cone formations on the Colorado Plateau.
What we think happened at Red Mountain is lava came out and started to flow, just plain lava, the same as what you would see at Sunset Crater, but it actually took a whole chunk of the volcano with it. So as it flowed, a whole bunch of the volcano just collapsed onto that flow and moved with it.
From the start, the scenery doesn't disappoint.
Got a great view of the backside here, or the northwest side of the San Francisco peaks, just sweeping views here.
Soon, pinyon and juniper begin to give way to ponderosas.
One of the things I really like about this hike, Carly, is that it's a really good beginner's hike.
It's at this point you see a hillside of loose cinders, which kids of all ages can't resist skiing down. Even though they end up with a pound of cinders in their shoes. As you enter the amphitheater, you're greeted by interesting formations that almost seem sculpted out of raw cement.
One of the things that's cool about Red Mountain is that it sits right on an old fault, an old tectonic fault, and that fault marks a boundary for groundwater. There's groundwater that flows towards the Colorado River, towards the north and northeast, and water that flows from there toward the Little Colorado to the south and southwest. So there's water moving along there. What we think happened is that plug of material that was cooling started to interact a little bit with the water that was along that fault, that was traveling along the fault. And it just heated it, and it made it sort of travel out into the volcano, just as hot water, not as explosive, not as anything, just hot water moving out into the volcano. And it started to cement that cinder material, really just like a cement. And so there's different materials that are in between the little class of cinder, and it cemented it. If you go out to Red Mountain, if you walk up into the amphitheater there and you look up, you can see what look like thin layers that are just really, really solidly packed tight. And what we really think happened is that those thin layers that are ash cemented so tight that water couldn't move, and it got more and more and more pressurized and pressurized and pressurized, just like a pressure cooker, because of those thin ash layers being just cemented solid. And eventually there was so much pressure that it blew.
Look closely at these thin layers, and you see different, odd-shaped crystals.
And so what that suggests, anyway, is that it was trying to form in the magma as a normal crystal, but because of this disequilibrium, something happened. It started to melt again in some way, or some part of the magma kind of attacked it in a way. They weren't happy crystals, and so they become really irregular like that.
While somewhat of a short hike, exploring the slotted canyons and crevices of Red Mountain is a little like walking inside the earth and back out again